Hurricane season comes with the double risk of severe storms and widespread power outages. Entergy, Louisiana's largest electricity provider, is working on a plan to reduce the frequency of outages and strengthen our infrastructure. I spoke with Public Service Commissioner Devontae Lewis about preparedness and whether Entergy's latest plans go far enough. Well, first off, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, but I'm going to jump right into these questions. So, hurricane season is underway, and it's expected to be especially active this year. From your perspective, as someone that's on the Public Service Commission, how prepared is Louisiana for hurricane season, and this hurricane season to be specific?
I think we're very prepared. The commission requires utilities to submit an emergency preparedness plan that evaluates how they would handle hurricanes specifically in Louisiana. And so those plans are being fine-tuned and filed with the commission. And I think there are decision points. However, I do think the challenge that we face is that, as many of us have heard, our weather is rapidly changing, and the storms are getting stronger, which means things that we thought were up to scale maybe 5 years ago would now be outdated and antiquated to provide safety. But one of my biggest priorities is to ensure that the utilities have a structured plan to get power back on as fast as it can if Louisiana does face a storm this season.
So the priority is really reducing power outages.
Correct. Yes, I think that is my main focus. I think a secondary focus is protecting our infrastructure to ensure one of the challenges that we saw, especially in Hurricane Ida, is we lost a lot of transmission towers. Those are a lot harder to get right back online, because you have to build that infrastructure back up, reconnect the lines to the distributions, to the homes and businesses. And so ensuring that our infrastructure is secure, but also how do we reduce the amount of outages, or the duration of outages, I think is the primary focus that I will have this season.
And you mentioned Hurricane Ida and Laura and all of these different named storms that were really severe. It had a lot of impact in some areas, and as a result of that, residents saw their utility bill skyrocket. And given that this hurricane season is predicted to be especially active, like I said earlier, is it possible that people could see those utilities rise again?
Well, I'm hopeful they don't. One of the things that the commission allows is what we call securitization. That saves ratepayers a significant amount of dollars when we allow the utility to bond out the recovery of repairs that they believe they are owed due to the loss of infrastructure. I actually voted against the Hurricane Ida securitization vote on my first meeting because I felt like we did not do a good enough job of reviewing the prudency to ensure that the utilities were replacing their poles on time, that they had put in significant effects and plans. That's going to be a real challenge. That's something that I'm going to be looking forward to, and I'm watching each utility over the time and making it very clear that I want to see your operation and maintenance investments making Louisiana stronger and more resilient now, and not just after a storm.
So is the commission currently looking at any utility increases or requests from Entergy at this moment?
Entergy does have a rate increase pending before the commission. I am pushing very hard that we do a full rate case, which is I would call a full audit, where we look under the hood of everything that Entergy is doing. Entergy is requesting what we call a formula rate plan, which is just a mitigated review that only really looks at the financial documents and makes some decisions. There's some price discrepancies there. I think Entergy filed a $433 million increase if we do a rate case. However, they said they would lower it to $173 million if we did a rate mitigation plan. I think there's some discrepancies in there. I think there's some money that is owed to customers. But this is part of the question around hurricanes. I want to see what they are investing in their operation and maintenance costs.
So this isn't the first time that Entergy has asked for more money to strengthen our infrastructure, but what specific projects would this money go toward?
Yes, so the commission last month approved $1.9 billion of spending. This would be 2,100 projects that are spread out across the state, and the vast majority of them are in pole replacements, making interconnections stronger, wires. I voted against it because I didn't think it took in a comprehensive approach to what we should be building a resilient system, looking at battery storage, looking at other options that could make the grid more resilient and reliable in power outages. But these 2,100 projects are going to start over the next 5 years, is what is projected. Now, while we they're projected to be $1.9 billion. The commission did not vote on a definite cap. So these projects can go over, it just can't be more than these 2,100 projects that have been projected and picked by Entergy.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about what's in this project. So a part of that $1 billion project will focus on burying power lines underground, but only about 100 miles of power lines will actually be buried. I mean, why so little? You know, and they have other states that have buried power lines before, and it's proven to be effective. So why aren't we focusing more time and energy on that?
I think that's a fair point, and that's part of the reason why I voted no. I asked my colleagues and Entergy, why are we not being more comprehensive? Why are we only looking at changing our poles? One of the other issues that I have is that while we did add some steel poles, we still had a significant amount of investment in wooden poles, which have proven to be least sustainable when it comes to our changing climate and weather events. And so I think the commission has to require Entergy and all of our utility companies, for that matter, to really look towards the future, as we see that we're now hearing the National Hurricane Center talk about potential Category 6 storms. We have to also be innovative in the way that we regulate them. And I wish that we would have required more, but I think it is also a start. But I would say that burying lines underground is significant of cost. It does have, it is a lot more costly, but that's why I think we should have had a very much well thought out phase-in program rather than just kind of a drop in the bucket that I think this proposal does.
So throughout this interview, you've talked about how you've disagreed with a lot of things that have, disagreed with Entergy on the price increases and some other projects that they want to work on. But where do you stand now?
Yeah, I am willing and able to work with not only Entergy, but all of the utility companies in Louisiana to ensure that we have a safe, reliable, resilient, and affordable utility structure in this state. However, I take my job as a regulator very seriously. I believe my job is to ask the tough questions. It is to examine all of the investments in infrastructure, and it's also to look towards the future. I think one of the challenges that we have faced ourselves with is we're often only looking at a one-size-fits-all solution instead of all. As we see businesses grow here in Louisiana, industry comes, our answer can't just be build more, build more, build more. We have to look at how we reduce energy consumption. We know Louisiana consumes some of the most energy across the country. Our utility bills are some of the highest in the nation. And so there's significant work that needs to be done, and I'm trying to work with our utility companies, but at the end of the day, they won't boss me around. I will regulate them.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We are out of time, but we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.